Hi, everyone. I can see some people are entering and we are almost ready to go. So we will get started in a moment. Thanks for joining me. Okay, so great to have you here for this very special event as part of Natural Medicine Week. I can't wait to share all this valuable information about really the power of natural medicine and what it can do for you. And, over 20 years ago, natural medicine, I can say probably, really saved and changed my life. I don't know where I would be without natural medicine. So to be able to be an ambassador and for Natural Medicine Week and really raise awareness of what's possible with natural medicine and what solutions it can offer you today in this space of gut health and IBS relief and just getting rid of, not knowing what to do. I think natural medicine can just work on so many levels and is a really powerful tool, not just when you've been told that there's nothing that can be done for your condition or your symptoms, but, really all the time, natural medicine can offer an alternative to what you've been given. Okay, so let me just go back. All right. So let's get started. Oop. Okay. Sorry, just having a problem with my slides, guys. Okay. Why are we not? Okay, sorry, there we go. So I just want to let you know that today you are in the right place. If you have any combination of the following symptoms, including bloating, pain, gas, diarrhea, constipation, gut issues can also cause fatigue. You might have mucus in your stool. You might be following a restricted diet because you thought that, that's the only solution to your gut issues. You might have reflux or heartburn or a combination of a bit of everything. Also, you're in the right place if you've told you've got IBS and you're not really finding the solutions that you need, or you've just been told to go on a low FODMAP diet and that's the end of it. That's the only solution. Or maybe just take a laxative and that's your only solution. If you have any kind of gut issue, even if it's not IBS, it might be that you've got celiac disease and you're still getting symptoms even though you're on a gluten-free diet. You might have Crohn's disease or colitis, or you might have IBS and Crohn's and colitis. You can have a combination of all of those things. So if you're sick of guessing what is actually causing these symptoms and, there has to be an answer, because there really, always is an answer. We just need to know how to look for it. Maybe you've been to different medical visits and you've just been told that, it's just your stress. You need to stop stressing and your gut will get better. Or you've got other conditions like endometriosis, which are very commonly associated with gut symptoms, whether you've been diagnosed with IBS or not. You can still have gut problems. You know that there's a cause even when you've been told that your blood tests are normal, your testing is normal. You just know in your gut, pardon the pun, that there has to be something. There has to be a cause or a reason. And you're sick of Googling, spending all night on your phone trying to find out what's actually going on. You're also in the right place if you are ready for answers, if you're ready for another way, if you're ready to heal your gut by taking small steps every week in the right direction, if you're ready to just have easy poos, be bloat-free, and just get off those super restricted diets that really don't seem to be, helping you that much anyway. And if you're ready to actually take some positive action. And I want to take you from like being Googling all night, being confused, to being ready, calm and clear about like, okay, we're going to take this step, then this step, then this step and this step, and we're going to get there. Okay, so a little bit about me as your host and your educator today. I'm an accredited naturopath with the ATMS. Thank you for hosting. With 19 years of clinical experience, can't wait to get to year 20. And I practice Australia-wide in clinic in Adelaide and also online Australia-wide. I specialised in gut issues over 14 years ago because my husband was diagnosed first with Crohn's disease and then celiac disease. And I say, thank goodness I dove into this field, because now both my kids also, or our kids, have celiac disease as well. My husband also has another autoimmune condition, and my daughter. So really being in this field and researching it, I've been able to get the diagnoses done really early and be on top of symptoms. Like, no one would think that they have these conditions because they are so healthy. They're, top of their height, they're great weight, and they're really not having all of these gut symptoms that someone who would be diagnosed with celiac disease really has to go through. I also write technical articles for practitioner education. I have worked with Dr. Narala Jacoby, who is the SIBO queen in Australia. So I worked in her clinic, and I was mentored by her and worked with patients worldwide for a couple of years. I'm an ATMS fellow and ambassador. This is my 5th year being a Natural Medicine Week ambassador. If you can just mute your microphone, and you can type in the chat if you're having any problems with the presentation, and Annie or someone will be able to help you. Also in May 23, I presented across Australia to practitioners on my favorite topics, which is IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, and SIBO. And in June last year, I was invited to attend a medical conference in Germany, which was super exciting. And it was just so eye-opening to see that specialists, medical practitioners, they use natural medicine over there. It was just incredible. So what I'll be sharing today are some 3 common causes that I see in clinic all the time that cause people to experience IBS symptoms and other gut issues, and also prevent them from, minimizing the symptoms with their gut conditions. I'm going to share with you what they are and why they might occur. Also, why natural medicine is such a powerful tool for addressing some of these causes, and how I can help you as well, because I'm sure you want to know, a bit more about these causes and the solutions. And I want to share with you how I can actually help you get there, because there are a couple of options if you're ready to take on tackling your gut conditions in an easy and stress-free way. So what is irritable bowel syndrome? Let's just kind of get a bit of a definition. And to me, when I see patients, it doesn't matter if you think you've got IBS, if you've been told you've got IBS with very limited testing, or if you've had maybe colonoscopies, endoscopies, and then you get told you have IBS. But it really is, at the moment, it's just a diagnosis of exclusion. It's seen in people who have recurrent abdominal pain for 2 or more months. It's related to issues with defecation or pooing. So, you might get a change you might start to experience constipation, or you might start to get diarrhea, or you might have pain, extra gas or bloating. There's a change in frequency of the stool. So you might go from once a day to 7 times a day. I've even seen 20 times a day. A change in the form, we talked about that. And it's a disorder, really. Now the name is being changed a little bit, but we still use IBS typically. But it's a disorder of gut-brain interaction. And I'm sure eventually this will be used a lot more. Okay, so there are a lot of things we need to think about when someone has irritable bowel syndrome symptoms. It could actually be 23 other gut conditions. So it is quite wide, this spectrum that we're looking at. And this is why I think it's really important that when I work with patients or members in my community, that we go through and just rule out the most obvious causes. And, we really make sure there's nothing else going on, because some people get told they've got IBS and they've had not one single test. So you could have these symptoms of IBS if you have infections in your gut, or if you have inflammatory bowel disease. That's a really important thing to, talk to your GP about ruling out. And I help people, to ask the right questions, because left untreated, it can be very serious. If you're having reactions to medications or to foods, this could cause these type of symptoms. So we want to think about that as well. It could be celiac disease. Celiac disease is, undiagnosed, like it's highly undiagnosed or not diagnosed enough. Even though it's only about 10% of the population, 4 out of 5 people who have celiac disease remain undiagnosed. So super important before you go gluten-free that you get that checked. It could be something more serious or on the more serious end, like ovarian cancer. It's an important thing to consider, especially if you have a family history. Thyroid disease is also could be something that's going on, especially autoimmune thyroid disease. Hormonal changes for girls who are just getting their periods or women heading into perimenopause. This can completely, change your gut microbiome. We'll talk about the microbiome later. It could be diverticulitis as well. This is often missed. It could be a bowel obstruction. This, again, sometimes requires an emergency visit to the hospital. So, we can see that it can be, milder things like intolerances or reactions, or it can be more serious things. It could also be SIBO, which I specialize in as well, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So this is an infection. It's an overgrowth of bacteria that cause all of the symptoms that I mentioned before for IBS. Leaky gut, we're going to talk about as well and go in detail, and also the gut-brain axis. We're going to dive into that a bit later. So I see patients one-on-one, but I also have the Tummy Rescue Hub, which is a membership, but also a mobile phone app. And so we look at, this is how I work with whether you're in my clinic or in my membership. When we treat IBS or we're looking to resolve your IBS, we want to calm and soothe your symptoms. Of course, those terrible symptoms of bloating and gas, we want to start to soothe those so you can feel better and you don't have to be so restricted with your diet. We want to repair and restore the gut. We're going to dive into this when we talk about leaky gut. And then we want to defend and maintain the progress you've made, how you've resolved your gut health and healed your gut. We really want to maintain that so you don't just go back to the symptoms again, because, that is the worst. Factors that can influence your irritable bowel syndrome symptoms. And these can also be underlying causes. So the others were more like conditions that can be underlying causes. And these are more functional problems that can be problems that can, make your IBS symptoms worse or can be driving your irritable bowel. So we have digestive capacity. So if you have weak digestion, we really want to strengthen this. And I always find this out through multiple things, but, just digging deep into your symptoms and completing a comprehensive questionnaire can really give us ideas. And I've got some little home tests that people can do as well. Stress is always going to be a factor. I'm not saying it is the cause or the thing that started your gut issues, but it can always be a driving factor. And when you've got gut issues, of course, you're stressed about the embarrassing gas and the painful gut that you're trying to pretend's not there, or looking 9 months pregnant by the end of the day. Stress is always a factor. The gut-brain connection, how the gut and the brain communicate to each other, that can change completely how your gut works and affect your microbiome, which I'll go into. Surgeries can also cause adhesions and scar tissue. So I always ask people about this. Foods can be a factor, but I don't think always food is like the enemy or the problem. It's how your gut deals with the food. Eating habits. Are you the first to finish your meals, and are you always eating quickly and not chewing enough and eating in the car and eating on the run? So movement, are you sitting down all day, every day, or are you actually getting some movement? Movement will help your bowel to move. Movement massages your bowel. The microbiome will go into a bit more. Constipation can be the #1 cause of bloating, guys. And it can create so many of your other symptoms like excessive gas, pain, hormones, as I mentioned before, medication, and also sleep is really important when we're looking at trying to support the gut. So in the Tummy Rescue Hub, we go through natural medicines, we go through the foods. What you need to start with is not what the diet you're going to end up on that's healthy for long-term microbiome. We always look at lifestyle with my patients and members. It's really important to address those factors, because even if that gives you, 10% improvement or 20% improvement, you can't always do everything with medications, supplements, and things like that. You need to address the food, the lifestyle, and look for the underlying cause, because by addressing the underlying cause, that is how you're going to resolve your symptoms long term and not just be constantly managing your symptoms. So let's look at what our first underlying cause, which is the mighty microbiome. So what role does the microbiome play in your gut symptoms, and what does it play in overall health? So your gut lining is a protective mechanism. It is a barrier between the outside world and the inside world, which is your cells and your blood. Bacteria will compete for sites along the gut lining, if we think of the gut lining as that tube. So they compete for sites, they compete for nutrients. Your microbiome will, by taking up space on the gut lining, it can prevent nasty bacteria coming in and taking hold on your gut lining. The microbiome also produces nutrients for us. And when the microbiome is working effectively in your gut, it will produce antibacterial chemicals against potential pathogens or invaders that are trying to come in. Your microbiome also produces short-chain fatty acids, which keeps this barrier healthy, keeps your gut, it gives anti-inflammatory effects in the gut, and it also makes the cells very healthy and keeps them turning over. It also helps with the tight junction function in cells, which we'll talk about when we talk about leaky gut. It also helps with immune function. 80% of our immune system lives within the gut lining. It communicates to our immune system, so it gives you tolerance to foods. And, when our immune system can either become pro-inflammatory so that we get more pain and problems, or anti-inflammatory chemicals can be produced, which keeps everything healthy and keeps us, keeps things repairing and healed. And the microbiome also provides nutrition for us. It helps us to break down our food fully and get nutrients. It synthesizes nutrients as well, like B2 and vitamin K, B12 and vitamin K, and also helps with excretion as well of toxins. And the microbiome plays a role in switching on and off genes that can then activate conditions, medical conditions, or keep us happy. So it's really essential that our microbiome is happy. What can cause damage to your microbiome? Because if we want to keep it healthy, or if we want to think about, is my microbiome playing a role in my gut symptoms, we want to think about, what have you done to your microbiome? Have you kept it healthy, or could you have damaged it somewhere along the way? So medications, all medications can have an effect on the microbiome. Some are really bad and some are not that bad. So we need to take that into consideration as well. Medications, probably the most damaging we could think about is, antibiotics. So they just destroy all bacteria, whether it's good or bad. They don't really discriminate. So if you've had a lot of antibiotics, this could be the reason your microbiome is struggling, and therefore you're getting these IBS symptoms. Poor diet choices will allow the microbiome to shift in a more pro-inflammatory microbiome, or one that's not really going to be looking after you as well. Highly processed foods. Let's think about baked goods and, Macca's and takeaway and lots of things out of a packet. Only eating really high protein and taking away all your carbs can cause problems. And little fiber, so not eating enough fiber, because our bacteria, the good bacteria that protect us, love fiber. So we really need to ensure that, you know, we're feeding ourselves, but we're also feeding our microbiome. Stress will go through, when we go through the gut-brain connection, we'll go into more detail about how stress really affects your microbiome. Operations, so any kind of procedure, operation will have an impact because it is a stress to the body on your microbiome and also your lifestyle. So are you moving? Do you spend time in nature? These things will shift your microbiome. How can we support a healthy microbiome? If you want to change your microbiome, you need to be using natural medicines. And natural medicine includes nature. But probiotics can shift the microbiome into, you know, a more positive area where it's more diverse, happier, there's more species, and there's more variety of species in your gut, because this has been associated with the best possible health outcomes. Prebiotics and fiber are the things that feed the bacteria inside of our gut, and they can sometimes, if we have bacteria that are at negligible levels, we can bring them up and increase their abundance by giving them the right type of probiotics or prebiotics. Plant foods, well, they contain the fiber and they contain antioxidant and they contain phytonutrients that help to feed and support the health of our bacteria. As I said, nature is really important. Spending time outdoors, it's been proven over and over again that interacting with grass, plants, and gardening, soil, being in those in outdoor environments that are so rich in microbiomes, forest bathing, it really improves the microbiome within us by being surrounded by these diverse microbiomes rather than being inside in a super clean, sterile environment that's been proven to have negative impacts on the microbiome. We really want to look at getting the body into rest and digest, which is activating the parasympathetic nervous system as much as we can. When we're in fight or flight, it has negative impacts on the microbiome. We also can look at specialized testing to assess your microbiome. Now, there are great tests out there and there are not so good tests. They're not determined by price, trust me. There are some, you know, pricier ones that will not give you accurate information, and the insights and reports that they give you aren't accurate. But microbiome testing has come such a long way, and I use it regularly in my clinic and within the membership. Let's talk about stress and the gut, the impacts that stress has on the gut. So I am not blaming stress completely for your gut issues. I've had so many patients come to me and they get told, because nothing's been found so far, that you must be stressing too much and you're pretty much doing this to yourself. And they leave going, well, I wasn't stressed before I got this gut condition. So how can it be that you're saying stress is the only cause of my gut condition? But stress does impact our gut. So we need to know that, and we need to know how we can support the body with natural medicines to minimize the effects of stress on our gut. Stress will take blood away from the center of our body, from the gut. It directs blood to the muscles and to our brain because we're in fight or flight. So we might need to fight or we might need to flee the situation. So our body reverts to that when we're stressed. And this can be stressed at a computer. Your body doesn't know that you don't need to fight. So what happens when blood gets redirected away from the gut is you can experience symptoms of reflux, bloating, pain, cramping, constipation, diarrhea, and nutritional deficiencies because you're not digesting as well. It also slows down the small intestine. So we've got our stomach, then we've got the small intestine. The small intestine can start to slow down, and this can cause bloating and pain, especially when you eat. And it can set you up for conditions like small intestinal bacterial overgrowth and pretty much all the symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome. What it does to the large bowel, which is the next one down, is it can slow down as well, or it can speed up the large intestine. So you could get, if it speeds up, you'll get diarrhea. If it slows down, you'll get constipation. You can also get deficiencies because your gut isn't working properly. You can get pain and bloating. It has also been proven that stress has a major impact on the number of bacteria inside your gut. And this can have a variety of symptoms, as you can see: diarrhea, constipation, all the IBS symptoms, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, immune issues, and inflammation. So this is a way that I like to explain to people how how your gut and brain interact and how stress can impact this and how it can become dysfunctional and then just lead to symptoms all the time. So I've done it in text form because it's great for those young people. But this is a text messages between your gut and brain. So this is what happens when everything's normal. So your gut, you can see here, the little gut symbol. Your gut says, okay, food is here. It texts the brain and the brain goes, okay, after some time, the brain says, you're getting full, let's slow down. I'm going to decrease your pain receptors because food is coming in and we don't want to feel everything that comes into our gut, but you do when you have IBS. So then the brain says you need to increase gastric emptying and then slow down the small intestine so we can really digest and absorb everything. And the gut goes, no problem, sure thing, I'll do that. What happens when there is malware or if there's a virus or that, if there's a problem and dysfunction between the gut and the brain. So your gut might say instead, oh my God, we're already full. And then your brain goes, oh my God, we're too full already. This does not feel good. It increases pain receptors, which further stresses the gut. And then the brain says, what did you eat? Why did you eat so much? I don't know what we should do now. It gets confused. And so then instead of slowing down small intestinal motility, it can increase things. It heightens the visceral hypersensitivity can happen where we are more aware of everything that's going on in our gut, because then the gut says, well, I don't know what to do. Do we increase? Do we decrease? And so almost the opposite of everything that should be occurring actually starts to happen. So you can feel very full very early. You might go, I'm hungry, and then you have 2 mouthfuls of food and you're like, oh my God, I'm so full, when it's painful. You can have nausea and vomiting because your gut starts to have retrograde motility. So it starts to flow upwards instead. And then you have problems with gastric emptying and motility. And that's where you get your constipation, diarrhea, bloating, and gas. How can we support our nervous system, though, with natural medicines, which are the most powerful at supporting? And I say supporting because natural medicine supports and enhances function. It does not suppress, shut off, cut out. And that is the important difference between conventional treatment for stress, just say, and anxiety and depression, which is needed, don't get me wrong, but between when we can choose to support the gut and the nervous system instead. We can use probiotics. There are probiotics that are studied that increase our happy hormones, that decrease the inflammation in the gut, and that increase the communication between the gut and the brain. And I keep doing it the wrong way, but the brain and the gut. Nutrients like zinc, magnesium, and B vitamins will support your nervous system to work better, but also support your gut function. Herbs like withania is like a mother's cuddle. Rhodiola enhances our resistance or improves our capacity to deal with stress. Lemon balm, I just think of calming and soothing, and chamomile as well is calming and soothing. And lemon balm has a big affinity for when there are gut and brain problems at the same time. Homeopathics can be wonderful and can really be great for people who are on a lot of medications, or they're quite young people or elderly, or people who are really sensitive to other natural medicines. Exercise, a balanced amount is key here. Doing 5 HIIT classes a week, running marathons when you've got gut issues may not be great for you, because it actually deprives your gut of oxygen for certain amounts of time. And it can just be too much when you've got a lot going on. And doing nothing is also terrible for your gut. It does not massage the gut. It doesn't enhance flow of the gut. It doesn't bring oxygen to the gut. Sleep is an essential thing to get right. And I often find that, we need to work on this with patients and members. And finding joy in life, joy makes your gut happier. So if you're not finding joy, you need to do small things like reading a book, having a bath, clean sheets on the bed. I don't know, they're my things, but, find, time in the forest, sitting outside, find your bits of joy, watching a comedy. The next bit we want to talk about is hyperintestinal permeability. So this is, I just call it leaky gut. Let's just call it leaky gut today, okay? So this is where you can see in the top diagram, this is just a cute picture, okay? It's not very sciencey, but I just like it because it kind of just shows us that these cells are separated and they have bigger holes or spaces between them. The space is important because we do absorb nutrients through there, but we don't want it to be gappy. You know, we want the cells to be like this, not like this. So they're in leaky gut. We know that there is an opening in the tight junctions. And normally the tight junctions, like down the bottom, you'll see they do let through water and nutrients into your bloodstream. But leaky gut allows the passage of food, undigested food, proteins, particles, immune components that should not be making their way into the bloodstream. And when our gut is leaky, the cells actually become inflamed. We can have damage to these little microvilli that we see in celiac, but we also see in leaky gut and in things like SIBO. So this is where you make your enzymes within those little microvilli. So if these are damaged, you're also not going to tolerate FODMAP foods very well because you're making less enzymes that break down all these foods. Leaky gut in scientific research has been associated with celiac disease, inflammatory bowel disease, allergies, eczema and asthma, IBS, MS, and rheumatoid arthritis, and many other conditions too. I just thought I'd mention those. So how can we support a healthy leaky gut, or how can we go from a leaky gut to a healthy gut lining again? We can use probiotics. There are specific strains of probiotics I use in my clinic and recommend within my membership in the protocols that actually have been shown to heal the gut lining. So we want to use those. Feeding up our microbiome feeds the cells, gives the cells energy, and so that can make them healthier and their turnover healthier. I always use glutamine to heal and also NAG. Nutrients that I can also use would be things like zinc, because zinc helps with the little tight junctions. So it's I think of it as sewing the cells back together. Vitamin D, and also that, sorry, is cut off, vitamin A. Herbs that are really soothing for the gut and kind of coat the lining so that we can decrease inflammation at the lining, and we can also support healing underneath are things like aloe vera, boswellia and curcumin are anti-inflammatory herbs. So when this is red and inflamed, that can help as well. I say to people that leaky gut, I think of it like sunburn on your arm. Now, when my arm is healthy and the skin is really good and intact, can I scratch it? Yes. Can I put moisturizer on it with perfume? Not that I want to, because, you know, perfume isn't the best, but, you know, can I put my arm in the sun and everything will be fine? Yes, it will. Imagine you have sunburn or a burn. Are you going to scratch it? Are you going to put moisturizer on it? Are you going to put it out in the full sun? No, you're not. But the environment, it's not the environment's fault that your skin is sensitive and reacting. We need to heal this so that you then don't react to foods and your gut doesn't react to everything and you don't experience those symptoms. So what small changes could you make tomorrow that would support each of these underlying causes? So if we think about the microbiome, the number one thing I think about is eating a variety of plant food, like you can see in that picture. Bright, colorful rainbow, every single color provides a different nutrient. Even when we're talking about a red apple and a green apple, they provide different nutrients and fibers to our gut. So eating both and a variety is actually helpful, rather than just going, I only like pink lady apples and that's all I'm going to eat. I understand when most people come and see me at the beginning that eating a variety of plant foods might seem impossible, or they've restricted their diet down to 10 foods. But what we're aiming for is to get that. But is there one other thing you can add a week? You know, can you add one new thing a week? And this will depend on where you are in your journey. But that is the number one thing that's going to support your microbiome, diversity and health. What can we do to support the gut-brain axis and how they communicate to each other in improving digestion so that you experience less symptoms? Teeth are your answer. Chew, 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 to poo, poo, poo. Kids love that one. So we really want to make sure that we're chewing really well, because this breaks down the food to smaller particles. It gets everything stimulated. It increases your digestion and digestive juices and enzymes and secretions so that you can break down your food properly. And it ensures when we're chewing nicely, we're not gulping in big amounts of air, which can, add to the gas and bloating. Leaky gut. What can we do to support leaky gut? To support leaky gut, I would really say minimizing processed foods, because to me, I don't think about processed foods as just like, oh, that's bad because it's high in sugar, or that's bad because it's high in fat. Although, fried foods can really damage your gut lining, but it's all these other chemicals that get put into our foods that can start to break down your gut lining and cause more inflammation and therefore cause pain. We want to do everything we can to protect your gut lining because it is your defense, your barrier, and it helps you break down your food. But doing these three things, just say, alone is not going to be enough. And that's why I do really think that you need help, whether it's one-on-one consults with someone like me or, being a part of my community in the Tummy Rescue Hub. You need to get professional support and resources because it will get you there quicker. You'll know exactly what to do. You won't be confused and stressed about all the things that you read on the internet. And you're also going to be using, the best supplements, and you're going to be getting professional advice on them and knowing that they are safe for you and the best choice for you. So, we'll open up Q&A shortly, but I really wanted to know, how are you feeling with me sharing all of this information? Are you feeling like Susie? Oh my gosh, wow, this is amazing. I love hearing that there's so much that can be done. Or are you more like Lara? And you're like, oh my God, this is giving me a headache. I'm so stressed. I don't know what to do. I'm overwhelmed. It's fine to be either or be a bit of Susie or be a bit of Lara. But, I really am here to help you get to Susie, and to be happy and, be relaxed about this whole thing, because I understand it can be definitely a challenge and overwhelming when you go to Google, how can I fix my IBS, or what's the answer to my IBS? To be honest, when I go into those IBS, into groups or people sharing about what you can do, or even I start to go, oh my God, there's so much out there. What would you even do if you were starting this? Even as a practitioner of almost 20 years, I feel like, oh, I can understand how you're getting heart palpitations and being overwhelmed. But I don't want you to be Lara. I don't want you to be confused, 100 Post-it notes, jumping from this to that, and not knowing what to do. Because really that amount of stress and anxiety about what to do, or when you try something and it doesn't quite work, or you're not sure if it's working, do you do more of it? Do you do less of it? Do you stop and jump to something else? That creates a lot of anxiety, which is really not needed when we're trying to heal our gut, as I went through what stress can do to your gut. I want you to be calm and clear about the next step, because often when I sit with someone, even after just the first appointment, they already feel heard, listened to, understood. They're amazed that there's so many solutions and underlying causes, that there actually are answers, and they're not going to have to deal with this and put up with it for the rest of their life. And I love explaining things and educating people so that things do seem like you don't have to do everything at once. We can do things step by step. So let me go through, what my solutions are for you if you want to take this the next step further. Obviously, you can see me one-on-one, Australia-wide. We have an initial consult and then follow-ups, and we go through everything one by one. Or there is the Tummy Rescue Hub, which includes an online portal, and it's also a mobile app as well now. So you can search everything on your phone. There are recipe books that relate to every single step that I showed you in the process of healing your gut. But by having these recipe books that you can search gluten-free or dairy-free if you want. You can search vegan, or you can use we've got a document that helps you know, are you in the calm and soothe phase? Are you in the defend and maintain phase? So We've got different ways of like using the recipes. There's masterclasses every month. And they're really nice and short and sweet. Most are around 20 minutes because, again, I don't want to overwhelm you. I just want to give you your next point of call, your next action step. And it comes in like audio, so you can just listen in the car or you can watch the videos. Cheat sheets as well, which are less than a 5-minute read normally, because this can give you the information in dot points and can get you the next step very quickly. We also have Q&As. So I look like this and I answer your questions and go through. So no questions about any of what you should do next go unanswered. We also have a community. It's on Facebook at the moment. It may move to the app, but this is also a place you can ask questions, get support, because I think professional support, as you know, Natural Medicine Week is trying to make you aware of, professional support is really important. And also you get my gluten-free book in there as well, so that you don't get lost. I've got lots of resources in there that help to guide you to, okay, you've got this going on, go over here. You've got this going on, you go over here, so that it's not just a whole heap of information that you don't know what to do with. And there's also bonuses as well. So I love Natalie recorded for me. She's a hypnotherapist. She recorded an IBS, a hypnotherapy recording, which I do recommend hypnotherapy to a lot of my patients because it fixes that gut-brain connection. So this is a stress reduction and it's only about 10 minutes, so you could use it every day. And also we have a PDF on busting anxiety with your breath. So these are exercises. And as you can see, Carly here, one of my members, found it really, really useful. In the yearly membership, you get all of the bonuses, obviously, that you get for the monthly membership. You get 10% off your initial consult if you want to see me one-on-one, and you get 2 months for free as well. And there's plenty of other bonuses too that I haven't shown here. So what this results in, and, you know, like just say if you're Googling online for solutions versus seeing me in clinic or, you know, joining the membership, it's about being able to come and soothe your symptoms with effective treatments that I have used over the last 19 years, learning how to, you know, address those underlying causes and heal your gut for good. So you're not always trying to just keep your symptoms from coming back. It means no bloating that causes you agony. It means not missing out on social events anymore because of your food restrictions, or you're worried about what's going to happen if you go to this party and eat something. No stressing over food anymore. No embarrassing gas that you're scared to pass in meetings or, you know, even around the family. And also, you know, being able to poo normally again. So I really want to thank all of you who came today and staying to the end. I'll be, in a second, I'll be checking if there are any questions. You can pop your questions in the chat and we'll go through those. So hang around if you would like me to answer your questions. Also, just want to let you know to look out for my emails in the next coming week. There'll be the link to this recording because I saw some of you didn't manage to get here till halfway through. So if you'll want to watch the rest and re-watch the end, you'll get the link to the recording. There'll be a 10% discount code for FOD Shop. And also I'm going to be sharing with you my soothing breakfast recipes to prevent that bloat and gas starting in the morning in ebook. And there'll be more information about how we could work together to get you your gut symptoms resolved. Now, I think that's the end. Let me just get the chat up so we can see. Sorry, I'll just stop my share as well. And let's get into some of the questions. Okay, just give me a moment. Okay, so just if you head to the bottom, you can, into the chat box, you can type your questions if you have any questions for me. Okay, so which microbiome, Shamim, thanks for asking the question, which microbiome test do I recommend? I actually, at the moment, go with Cobiome. They have a range of 3 tests called Meta Explore GI, and Meta Explore GI Plus. They're an Australian company. The testing gets done in Australia, which I really do value. so that a lot of the markers that get tested, we know they get tested generally within 48 hours. So there's no breakdown of that. And there are two kind of main types of microbiome tests. Microbiome tests that go looking for specific bacteria only. So they might have a list of like 200 bacteria that they're just going to test for. Are they there and what quantities? Whereas cobiome is a test that DNA tests. So it finds everything. Whatever is in your gut versus this person's gut, it will find all of those things. It is a test that needs to be interpreted by a practitioner because, really you can't just take the test and make your own decisions based on this. I'm highly trained in this test. I'm classed as a microbiome guardian. So I specialize in microbiome testing because it's really important, again, that you get that professional advice. Buying a test online and just getting a report and trying to figure out what to do with it, I really do not recommend that, because you could actually if you just go on some antimicrobials and you never know when to stop or when it's getting better, you could actually harm your microbiome in the long run. So I definitely use this test. One way to think about it as well when we're talking about how does it test for bacteria is being in a dark room. And I love this analogy. The other tests are the ones that are just looking for a set number of bacteria, which really I think skews the information you're getting, is a torch that's just shining in the dark room and going, oh yeah, we found this guy, we found this guy, we found this, oh, he wasn't there. The other microbiome testing that DNA tests for everything is being in a dark room and switching the light on, and you have a view of everything in that room. So I hope that answers that question, nice and clearly for you. And yeah, I'll send some more information. Like, there are ways to get that microbiome test, but you need to use a practitioner to interpret it. And the great thing is, though, they've just recently decreased their prices as well to help more and more people access this quality of professional testing. Okay. Does anyone else have a question? There's nothing too big or too small. Just type it in the chat box and we can get to it. Oh, excellent. I'm glad that answered it for you. No worries. It is a really good test though, and it really has changed a lot of my cases and led from cases where we were kind of confused at what's happening and the symptoms didn't make sense or the person wasn't responding to treatment. And we did this testing. We found the underlying cause of their microbiome disturbance and we treated it. And I have actually recently just managed to retest about quite a number of patients, and the changes that we've seen in their microbiome after we've retested 2 times is incredible. Some people have gone from only having 50 bacteria, we're aiming for at least 250, to getting to 200 within around 6 months. But unless you have that information, you may not know exactly what to do. Another question, what about SIBO tests? So SIBO is the small intestinal bacterial overgrowth that I discussed before. And, some studies show that 80% of people with IBS actually have SIBO. Now, I use SIBO test in Australia. So this lab is run by Dr. Narala Jacobi. It is the gold standard in breath test analysis for SIBO. And I think their preparation is the best so that you kind of don't end up with results that you're confused about. It's also a 3-hour test versus a 2-hour test, which can sometimes miss SIBO in the test results. And the breath test, where you breathe into the test tubes, is done every 20 minutes, not every 30, because sometimes when it's every 30, at one of those key points between the gases going from like the small intestine to the large intestine, if it's every 30 minutes, we can miss it. And then we're kind of left still questioning, is this SIBO? Do we need to treat? So I definitely recommend SIBO test for my SIBO testing. And sometimes I'll use other labs, but I'll specify to my patient that we need to request a 3-hour, we need to request a 20-minute testing time point, and we also need to do the special prep that is recommended by SIBO test. Thank you for that question. I hope that was nice and clear as well. I did keep popping in your questions there, and then, you know, we've still got a little bit of time to go through any questions you have. And seriously, there's no silly question when it comes to gut health IBS. I don't mind if you ask about other gut conditions as well, and don't keep it strictly to IBS. I did have a question from someone who was joining to watch the recording, and it was, you know, that they've noticed as they've gone into perimenopause or menopause, their gut has stopped working and they're experiencing constipation. So I wanted to answer that question for you when you watch the recording. So as we shift into like perimenopause and even, you know, in menopause, studies have shown there are microbiome changes that occur for women going through this. And those microbiome changes are enough to cause your gut to completely change. So for the function, the regularity to change. So working on the microbiome in this kind of case would be important. Also seeing if there are other underlying causes, or if there are, you know, red flags for SIBO, and doing some SIBO testing, because it may be, you know, that it's SIBO, or microbiome testing might reveal that, you know, your methanogens, which are a type of bacteria or archaea, have gone up. And if that is present in with constipation, then we know we need to reduce those species, because what those methanogens do is when they produce excess methane gas, they actually stop the gut moving. So the gut kind of becomes frozen. And so it's not going to move your stool through the bowel in a timely manner. So it can really put, you know, make things much, much slower than you're used to. It can also be your hormones. So we also want to look at hormone balance and supporting healthy transition between these phases. So I would then get you to fill in my hormone questionnaire and just see if there's any other hormone problems that are occurring that might, you know, guide us to think about, let's treat the hormones and see if we can get the bowels working more regularly. And sometimes it's just a matter of like adding in some extra fiber in the way of some flax seeds or chia seeds, or partially hydrolyzed guar gum, which I love. But we need to use these in a very specific way so that we don't cause, you know, like more bloating or gas as well. So I find it's the way that we introduce supplements or foods that makes a massive difference to whether it's going to be helpful for you or not be so helpful. I hope that answers your question. Let's just check if there's any extras that have come through. Okay. Well, I think if there aren't any extra questions that anyone wants to pop in or isn't brave enough to pop in, I'll just give you a second. Then we can probably finish up. And I want to thank each and every one of you for attending my masterclass in celebration of Natural Medicine Week and raising awareness of the powers of natural medicine. And I want to thank the ATMS for hosting this event and the series of events that exist for the rest of the month as well. Their work in raising awareness in Australia about natural medicines is really important. And we're all very grateful for their hard work during the month of May and all the work that it takes us to all get here. Okay, so I believe there are no further questions. So yeah, I think we can leave it there. Thank you for watching. And as I said, you can also watch the recording if you manage to only get to half or part of this webinar. When it comes up. Thank you, Annie. Thanks for being a part of today as well. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay.